Hey everyone, ready to dive into something a little different today. We're not talking indicators or charts. We're talking about the most powerful tool in your trading arsenal, your mind.
It's all about that mental edge, right?
Exactly. And to guide us on this journey, we're cracking open the Daily Trading Coach. 101 Lessons for Becoming Your Own Trading Psychologist by Brett N. Steenbarger.
Oh, fantastic choice. Steenbarger's work is like the go-to for getting your trading head straight.
Totally. Think of it like this: 101 bite-sized lessons to supercharge your trading game. And he kicks things off with this idea of self-coaching. Just like an athlete trains their body and mind.
Makes sense, right? You
You-
wouldn't expect to run a marathon without prepping your mind for it too.
Exactly. And Steenbarger argues that trading, it's the same thing. You got to be your own coach, pushing yourself to improve, but also, being kind to yourself along the way.
And that's huge. The book actually talks about how beating yourself up over mistakes, it's actually counterproductive. There's research showing that those warm, supportive coaching relationships way more effective for growth.
It's like that thing Steenbarger says about his daughter, Devin. He talks about her birthmark and how he loves her unconditionally, flaws and all. And it really struck me because isn't that what we need to do with our trading too?
Absolutely. That's so powerful because we all have those weaknesses, those little imperfections in our trading, right? But denying them, it's like sweeping dirt under the rug. It's just gonna, come back to bite you.
Totally. Now, let's talk about stress because let's face it, trading, it can be a wild ride.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The ups, the downs, it's all part of the game.
Right. And Steenbarger, he makes this really important distinction between like normal everyday stress, which let's be real, it's unavoidable. And then there's that full-blown distress.
Yeah, that's the stuff that can really mess with your trading.
Exactly. He compares it to driving, driving in rush hour traffic. Stressful, sure. But cruising down an open road on a sunny day, that's enjoyable.
Same activity, totally different experience.
Exactly. And Steenbarger's point is it's all about perception and preparation.
Like you wouldn't wait until a hurricane hits to get ready.
Exactly. You prep in advance. And he says the same with trading stress. Having a solid plan, especially for when things go wrong, it's like having your own trading hurricane kit.
And a good plan, it does wonders for your confidence too, because you know what to do even when things get hairy. And the book talks about how real trading confidence, it comes from this idea of self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy. Okay, break that down for me.
So it's basically like focusing on what you can control, right? Not the outcome of the trade, because that's always uncertain, but your process, your entries, your exits, your risk management.
So instead of obsessing over whether I make X amount of dollars today, I focus on sticking to my trading plan no matter what.
Exactly, because those are the things you can actually control, and that's where true confidence comes from.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together. It's like by focusing on what I can control, I build this sense of mastery, and that leads to confidence.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting? Steenbarger, he actually found this link between happiness and trading profits.
Wait, really? So you're saying that being happy can actually make me a better trader?
That's what the research suggests. It's not about the profits making you happy, it's about being in a good headspace, which then leads to better decisions and potentially more profits.
Okay, I'm listening. Okay, so we're talking about being kind to ourselves, right? But how does that actually play out in our trading? How do we actually do that?
Well, Steenbarger, he introduces this concept he calls the Devon principle.
Named after his daughter, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's this idea that our actions, especially our work, they reflect back at us. They shape how we see ourselves, our self-worth.
So if I'm constantly beating myself up over every little trading mistake.
Exactly. That's what he's saying. A lot of traders, they turn that self-coaching into self-criticism, and it just reinforces this feeling of I'm not good enough.
It's like that negative self-talk spiral, right? You just get stuck in it.
Totally. So instead of focusing on what we're doing wrong, Steenbarger says, hey, let's structure our trading in a way that actually builds us up.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. Let's focus on our strengths, those things that make us feel good about our trading.
It's like finding your trading superpower.
Exactly. And this ties into the idea of setting effective goals, which Steenbarger is a huge proponent of.
Oh yeah, goals. Got to have them.
Right. But not just any goals. He's all about those process-oriented goals instead of those outcome-oriented ones.
So instead of saying, I want to make $1,000 this week.
Which, let's be real, is totally outside of our control.
Right. It's more about okay, I'm going to follow my trading plan with 100% accuracy this week.
Exactly, because that's something you have direct control over. And achieving those process goals, it builds that confidence, that self-efficacy we were talking about.
So it's like by focusing on the process, the outcome kind of takes care of itself.
In a way, yeah, because you're developing those skills, those habits that lead to consistent long-term success.
Okay, so let's say I'm doing all the right things, I'm nailing my process goals, and then bam, winning streak.
Nice. Riding that wave.
Right. But then here's my question. Do I still need to work on my trading psychology when things are good?
Yeah.
Isn't it more about fixing what's broken?
That's a great question, and it's something Steenbarger actually addresses in the book. He says it's just as important, maybe even more important, to work on your trading when you're doing well.
Really? Why is that?
It's about taking those winning trades and really understanding why they worked. What did you do right? Can you replicate that?
It's like that saying, success leaves clues, right?
Exactly. And it's about building on those successes, not just resting on your laurels.
So it's less about fixing and more about fine-tuning.
That's a great way to put it. It's like you've got this well-oiled machine, but you can always optimize it, make it even better.
Okay, I'm digging that. So we're always learning, always growing, even when things are going great.
Absolutely. And this ties into what Steenbarger calls maintaining a solution focus. He wants you to identify your solution markets, those setups or market conditions where you just kill it.
Oh, so knowing your strengths, right?
Yeah.
I really crush it in trending markets, but choppy markets, not so much.
Exactly. And then focusing your energy and attention on those areas where you thrive.
Makes sense. But we can't just ignore those areas where we struggle, right?
Definitely not. And Steenbarger, he's realistic about this. He knows that change, it takes time and effort.
It's not like flipping a switch, right?
Exactly. He even talks about how relapse is normal, especially when we're trying to break those deeply ingrained habits.
It's like, when you're learning to drive stick shift. You're going to stall out a few times.
Exactly. But eventually, with enough practice, it becomes second nature. And speaking of practice, Steenbarger, he's a big fan of using visualization and mental rehearsal to cement those new positive trading habits.
So instead of just reading about good trading habits, I'm actually training my mind to respond in a more disciplined way.
Exactly. And you can even practice this in a simulator. The key is to get those reps in, just like you would with any other skill you're trying to master.
Okay, so we're training our minds, building those positive habits. But what about when those pesky emotions pop up, in the heat of the moment?
Yes, the emotions. Well, remember how we talked about stress and distress earlier? Steenbarger, he gives this really helpful questionnaire to assess your stress level.
It's like a stress check-in.
Exactly. Are you sleeping poorly? Is your appetite off? Are you more irritable than usual? These are all signs that maybe that stress is tipping over into distress.
And that's when those emotional trades can happen,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. And that's why having that solid trading plan is so crucial. It's like having that roadmap, to guide you through those stormy market conditions.
It's like having a script to follow when you're nervous about giving a presentation, right?
That's a great analogy because even if you go off script a little bit, having that structure there, it just calms those nerves.
Totally. Okay, so trading plan, check. Stress, check-in, check. What else?
Well, Steenbarger, he also has this really interesting checklist for assessing your overall well-being. Because remember, he's a big believer in that mind-body connection.
Right, if I'm running on fumes and haven't slept in 36 hours, my trading's probably going to reflect that, right?
Exactly. So he suggests checking in with your energy levels, your mood, your focus. Are you feeling optimistic or pessimistic?
So it's not just about don't trade when you're tired. It's deeper than that.
Exactly. It's about being in tune with your overall well-being because that plays a huge role in how you show up in the markets.
Okay, so let's say I'm doing all the things. I'm well rested. I've got my plan. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But then the market opens and I still get those butterflies in my stomach. That fear, that anxiety. How do I deal with that?
That's such a great question. And Steenbarger, he actually dedicates a whole section to distinguishing between fear and anxiety in trading.
Because they're not the same thing. Right.
Right. And he says that anxiety, it's a natural human response to uncertainty and trading, full of uncertainty. But it's about figuring out if that fear is rational, hey, there's actually something happening in the market that warrants this fear, or if it's our own baggage, our past experiences coloring our perception.
So it's like that feeling you get when you see those flashing lights in your rearview mirror and your heart starts racing.
Yeah.
But then you realize, wait a minute, I wasn't even speeding.
Exactly. It's that initial jolt of fear that we need to, like, learn to manage.
Oh, okay, so how do we do that? How do we tell the difference between, like, oh, this is just my past trauma talking, and, oh, this is actually a legit market signal?
That's where, like, that self-awareness comes in. Steenbarger, he has this really simple but powerful technique. He says when you feel that fear, just acknowledge it. Just say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling anxious about this trade right now. And then ask yourself, why? What specifically about this trade is making me uncomfortable?
It's like having that internal dialogue with yourself, right? Instead of just letting those emotions run wild.
Exactly. By asking those questions, you can start to separate like the realistic fear, which might actually be a signal to like adjust your plan from that anxiety that's rooted in our past experiences, which we can then learn to manage more effectively. And by like asking those questions, right, we can start to figure out, what's real and what's just our own head messing with us.
Like tuning out the noise and focusing on the signal.
Exactly. And once you've got that clarity, then you can start building a trading approach that really works for you. And that's where Steenbarger introduces this concept of a personal trading system.
The personal trading system, I like the sound of that.
Right. And he's really big on this idea that there's no one size fits all in trading. You know, what works for one person might be a total disaster for someone else.
It's like trying to fit into a pair of shoes that are like 2 sizes too
No,
small.
exactly. You got to find what fits you. And he breaks this personal trading system down into like 3 key elements.
Okay, hit me with it.
So first up, you've got your core strategy, which is basically like your overall approach to the market. Are you all about those trends? Do you like to, fade the crowd and go contrarian, breakouts,
Oh,
reversals?
it's like, what's your trading personality?
Yeah, exactly. Then you've got your preferred time frame, like how long are you holding these trades? Are you a scalper, in and out like a flash, day trader, swing trader?
So are we talking minutes, hours, days, weeks?
Exactly. It all depends on you, your personality, your lifestyle, all of that. And then finally, and this is a big one, you've got your risk appetite.
Ah, yes, risk. Can't forget about risk.
And this is all about honesty, like being really honest with yourself about how much risk you're actually comfortable with. Because some people, they can handle those big swings, no problem. Others, not so much.
It's like that feeling you get on a roller coaster, right? Some people, they live for that adrenaline rush. Others, they'd rather, watch from the ground.
Exactly. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's about knowing yourself. And here's the thing.
Hmm.
Steenbarger also emphasizes that your trading system, it shouldn't be static, It needs
So,
to be flexible, adaptable to the market conditions.
so like what works in a calm, steady market might not work in a wild, crazy market.
Exactly. You got to be ready to adjust, to adapt like a chameleon changing colors.
Okay, I like that, the trading chameleon. So we're constantly learning, constantly evolving our approach.
Always. And that's why, Steenbarger calls this book The Daily Trading Coach, because it's about that ongoing self-reflection, that constant striving to improve.
It's like having that coach in your corner, always pushing you to be your best.
Exactly. And he has these great tools to help you do that. Like he talks about this really cool twist on the traditional trading journal. He calls it the cognitive journal.
Okay, cognitive journal. Sounds intriguing.
So instead of just like logging your entries, your exits, your P&L, he wants you to go deeper. He wants you to write down your thoughts and feelings, before, during, and after your trades.
So it's like, what was your emotional state? Were you feeling confident, scared, greedy?
Exactly. Because those emotions, they play a huge role in our trading decisions, whether we realize it or not.
And by like writing it down, it's like we can start to see those patterns, right? Like, oh, every time I get impatient, I end up making a bad trade.
That's the idea. It's about bringing those unconscious thoughts and behaviors to the surface so we can start to challenge them.
It's like shining a light on those blind spots, right?
Exactly. And remember how we talked about those schemas earlier? This cognitive journal, it can be super helpful for identifying those like deeply ingrained beliefs that might be holding us back.
So like if I'm always getting stopped out because I'm afraid to let my winners run, that could be a schema.
Exactly. Or like if you're holding on to those losing trades for too long because, you don't want to admit defeat, that could be another one.
Okay, I'm seeing how powerful this can be. It's like we become detectives of our own minds.
Right. We're like, okay, what's really going on here? What's driving these decisions? And once you've identified those negative patterns, then you can start to reframe them, replace them with more constructive beliefs and behaviors.
So instead of saying, I'm a terrible trader, I always lose, it's more like, okay, I made a mistake. but I'm learning from it and I'm getting better every day.
Exactly. It's about shifting that inner dialogue, from self-criticism to self-compassion.
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to be human, to make mistakes, and to learn and grow from them.
And to celebrate those wins too. Steenbarger, he's big on that. Like,
Right.
don't just focus on the losses, acknowledge your successes no matter how small.
It's like even if you only followed your trading plan perfectly for one day, that's a win, right?
Absolutely, because you're building those positive habits, and that's what ultimately leads to long-term success.
It's all about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And that's what I love about Steenbarger's approach. He gets it. He understands the mental game of trading and that it's a journey, not a destination.
It's like that saying, enjoy the journey, not just the destination, right?
Exactly. And that's what we want for all of you listening, to find that joy, that fulfillment in your trading, not just chase those profits.
So to wrap things up, if you're looking for a book that will completely transform your trading mindset, this is it. The Daily Trading Coach is packed with actionable insights and techniques that you can start using today.
It's like having a personal coaching session with Steenbarger himself, except, without the hefty price tag.
Exactly. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the incredible world of trading psychology. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, the most important trade you'll ever make are the ones you make in your own mind.